Hey guys, it's me, Holly Madison. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm continuing my reaction series to Girls Next Door. This is season 4, episode 5. This is called There's Something About Mary O'Connor. If you hit the like and subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. And let's get on with the episode if I can find my remote. Here it is. So this episode is all about Mary O'Connor, Hef's secretary. I was very close with Mary. Sadly, she's no longer with us. I know some of you are going to ask in the comments section. She passed away in 2013. And she was a really close friend of mine. And I love that they did an episode spotlight on her. So I forget what happens in this episode though, because when I think of Mary being on the show, I think of that Mother's Day episode where we took all our moms to the spa. So I forgot what this episode is. So we shall see. So the cold open is us playing Monopoly, which was a tradition at the mansion. We played Monopoly every Tuesday night. And we started doing it maybe in like 2003 or so. And it was when there were 7 girlfriends. And it was just me, Bridget, Hef, Crystal Camden, sometimes Stacy Burke. The other girls wanted no part of it. They were like, hell no, we're not doing another like activity, you know, like they wanted to be not around us or Hef or anybody as much as possible. So they never participated, but we always liked playing Monopoly, and Hef had this really cool custom Monopoly board with like money with his face on it and like little custom made Monopoly pieces. So as a gift, I had some extra pieces made that were like statues of women in the bunny costume, and we played with those. And I think Kendra inherited like Crystal Camden's figure with like the blue bunny costume. I had a black one. Bridget had a pink one. I feel like Hef's face on the money, it looks like old school Warren Beatty though. I was listening to a podcast, I forget what it was, and somebody said Warren Beatty and they could not figure out the last name at all. They were younger than me. They were like, Beatty, Beatty. And I'm like, damn, nobody knows anymore. Like, I remember him being in the media a lot when I was a kid because he was in that movie Bugsy that won a lot of awards. And he dated Madonna, which was like a big deal back in the day. The first confessional interview you see of me, I really like. I'm wearing like a yellow, of course, Victoria's Secret catalogs. That's where all my clothes were from. Yellow top. I think Kendra hated playing Monopoly, judging by what she's saying in the show. I got to hate domino night because we had a domino night too. And I loved playing dominoes at first, but the game, like Hef was stuck on playing the same game called Mexican Train. And don't come at me if that's not a politically correct term for the, I don't know why it's called that. I don't know the origin of why that game is called that. I have no idea. So if it's a problematic origin, just tell me what the new word for that game is, okay? I don't know. But anyway, there was this game that at the time was like known as Mexican Train, and it just got really boring. It was just a very simple game, so it felt very mind-numbing, and I was like, so tired of domino night. I much prefer Monopoly because Monopoly is a little more complicated and it's a little bit more unpredictable. Hef's wearing blue flannel pajamas, and he had this big black smoking jacket on over it. And I can't imagine it was ever that cold in there. I think it was more just because maybe he felt dumb being on camera, being in the blue flannel pajamas. I don't know where I got the bunnies sculpted from. I'm sure Mary helped me find the person when I got those as a gift, because the original set was like Hef, one of his girlfriends, and like 2 guys that he played Monopoly with, and his girlfriend at the time had bought those for him. But this was like in the early 70s, so I don't know how I got the figures matched up. I don't know if we found the same sculptor or what, but there you have it. You guys tell me if you watch this or are watching it while I'm talking. When I say Hef likes community chest, I don't know why. Tell me if you can tell I was joking or not. Because I feel like people, like my sense of humor is more dry and sarcastic, but I feel like people never think I'm joking. Maybe I just pay too much attention to the people on the internet who like want to find a bone to pick with everything you say. But I feel like anytime I make a joke or I'm joking about something, people think I'm dead serious. And it's like, God, can I ever? Like, I'm not saying I'm funny, but geez. The next scene after the opening, I'm walking into Mary's office with my favorite bird, Carola. I'm looking at her and I just can like remember what it feels like to pet her. I love that bird so much. And I'm walking in with no makeup on. I know I've said this earlier on in season 4, but it's interesting to see how all of a sudden I'm like comfortable being on camera with no makeup, which in seasons 1 through 3 was not the case. Like I had to have a full face of makeup anytime the cameras are around. Like maybe there were 1 or 2 times in like the first 3 episodes you could see me without makeup, but then I learned quick and was like super insecure and always had to have a ton of makeup on. But then season 4, I just kind of gave up. And I think it's because I was busy working at the studio at that time. So I finally felt like I had something to offer other than, oh, I just need to like look perfect all the time. Because I'm shocked at how many times I see myself without makeup on here. Because that's not how I remember feeling most of the time. Mary is like so uninterested in what I have to say. I'm like, I think I'm going to call Dawn about the golf scramble. She's like, what about? She's just like, not interested. Okay, so this is the episode where we go to the Playboy Golf Scramble, which was a golf event held every year. I think it was in March. So if I'm correct, if it was in March, this was probably the first thing that was shot for season 4, even though we're not seeing it until episode 5. And it was just a really fun day. Of course, I had my golf cart driven out there so we could drive around and just, you know, talk to the golfers and hang out with the playmates. And the playmates were given really cute uniforms to wear. So of course, Bridget and I wanted to wear those. And it was just a really fun day. Like, I want to say we only went twice because we only started going this year, which was 2007. And then of course, 2008 would be my last year there. But I had so much fun both times. And I'm telling Donna when we're talking to her, Donna at the golf scramble, that I want to bring my awesome pimped out golf cart. Like, you know me, I always laugh anytime I hear somebody say pimped out on this show because nobody says that anymore. But it was like the word of this show was pimp, which I guess is fitting. But you know what I mean. Guys, I miss this bird so much. I'm just looking at this bird and she's like preening herself and you can see how her feathers like come up off the back of her neck. It's just so cute. I just want to like hug her. 5 pounds of stuff in a 2-pound bag. She just had some of like the funniest expressions sometimes. Okay, I think I'm gonna call this episode the Pick Me Girl episode, which I know that term can be problematic in and of itself and not everybody loves it. But we all know what a pick-me girl is. If you don't know, a pick-me girl is like the girl who always wants to be picked. So she's always making a big show of how different she is and how much she's not like the other girls. And I was going to say I'm not going to call anybody a pick-me girl, but no. I'm going to point out people's pick-me tendencies. But before anybody runs with this and like makes a little headline saying I'm calling anybody a pick-me girl, first, I want to say that I also acknowledge being a pick-me girl, so it's okay. From one pick-me girl to another. It's just that my brand of pick-me is a little different. There's different types of pick-me girls. I'm sure there's pick-me boys and pick-me no matter how you identify. But my brand of pick-me is always kind of like, I don't know how to describe it, like kind of like the hipster-ish pick-me, I guess, where you're like, not into things once they become really, really popular, or you kind of don't go as hard in your fandom as certain things. Like you can be really, really into something, but once you see that everybody else likes it, you're like, yeah, I'm gonna tone it down a little bit. You know what I mean? Or I'm pick me in the way, and I don't know if I can explain this to you guys very well because I know that I come off very basic. I've got the long blonde hair. I always have a Starbucks in my hand. But I always think of myself as like the weirdo and the nerd. Don't look at my nail. And things like that. You know what I mean? I think I'm doing the worst job explaining this that I've done explaining anything in any of these videos. But what I'm trying to say is, yes, I too am a pick-me girl. But it's just a different brand of pick-me. Like it reminds me of that scene of the Kardashians. I don't even know who's talking because it's something like I hear in a soundbite on TikTok. But like one of them is saying that she doesn't watch TV. It's probably Kourtney. And then I think it's Khloe is going, oh, no one cares. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of like that, I don't watch TV, pick me. Like that type of a pick me. You know what I mean? Like I'm not doing the typical thing. Like that kind of a pick me. But there's also the pick me where you're looking at really traditional gender roles and you're like, I'm not like the other girls. I want to watch sports in the other room. I'm not like the other girls. I don't want to wear what they're wearing. I want to wear something different, which are all fine and valid choices. And I'm not saying any of those choices were put on to like be different. I don't think they were. I think they were genuine. But it's falling into the pick me category. So very good naturedly, I'm just talking about people being a pick me. I don't think Bridget has pick me tendencies. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. Like don't go on a bashing spree. Don't go bashing my friend. But if I'm wrong, let me know nicely. I don't think so though. Like I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't like invite like rude criticism in the comments if I even thought that was a thing. I don't think Bridget really has pick me tendencies. I don't know. If she does, I don't see it. But I think Kendra and I do. They're just very different brands of pick me. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, what made me think of that is Kendra's trying on the Playmate golf outfit. She doesn't like it, so she wants to wear something else, which is 100% fine. But it plays into like the pick me of this episode because the second half of this episode, I'm remembering now, we go to Mary O'Connor's house and like all of us are in the dining room playing cards, all the girls. And then she's like, no, I want to go watch football with Captain Bob, which is fine. I'm not ripping on it. Don't tell me this video is giving hater because it's not. I'm just saying it like falls into like the typical like pick me kind of a thing. But I'm not ripping on it because I too am a pick me girl. See what I'm saying? Okay, there's a scene of her changing and they focus in, like she has underwear on, but they focus in so hard on her crotch that I'm kind of like, I was going to say grossed out by it, but I don't want you to think I mean grossed out by her crotch. That's not what I'm grossed out about. I'm grossed out that they zoomed in on the crotch in such like a pervy way to the point where it's like you can almost see people's like shaving habits. I'm just like, damn. And I do notice in season 4, there's a lot less nudity. And when I started watching season 4 a few weeks ago, I asked Bridget, I'm like, was there like a conscious decision on everybody's behalf? Like, oh, we're not undressing in front of the cameras anymore? Or was it just coincidental? Or how did that happen? And she seems to remember some talk about, you know, I'm not getting naked for them anymore. I'm not, you know, getting naked in front of the camera. But so far, like this is the closest thing we've seen to any nudity. And it's a trope I've pointed out before that they spend a lot of time in Kendra's room watching her get dressed. And I don't know if that was them being perverts. And when I say them being perverts, I'm not talking about like the camera crew because they're just following orders. I'm talking about like the higher ups. So I don't know if it was them being perverts, just trying to catch as much nudity as possible. Or I don't know if it was the thing where like she's legitimately in real life always late and they're like, okay, we need to get this scene. So we're just going to barge into her room and start filming. Because I think that was kind of a factor too. I'm definitely not hating on people wanting to wear a different outfit than everybody else because there were so many times I felt like that too when I lived at the mansion, especially in the early days because there would be 7 of us. And I remember there was this press thing we had to do where we were all supposed to wear pajamas and like sit in front of the Christmas tree to show like Christmas at the mansion, even though we would have never gone down to the Christmas tree in pajamas. That wasn't how it worked. But anyway, there was some press thing for that. And I didn't want to wear the pink flannel pajamas because they were humongous. Like it looked like you were wearing a house. I wanted to wear something more figure flattering. So I put on these Playboy brand pajamas, which how could he complain about that? And they were just like pink pants with like a pink top and like a Playboy bunny on it. But it was like form fitting. So I thought it was more attractive. And he got so mad at me because I wasn't like cloning out and wearing the same thing. And it especially sucks to be expected to look exactly like and dress exactly like people you don't get along with who aren't even nice to you. You know what I mean? It's just there's something very like demoralizing about that. And I think for anybody, and this probably contributes to like the pick-me-ness of from those of us who you know have that from this situation. It's like it's so hard to hang on to any of your own personality because it all kind of gets like appropriated and put on all the other girls. You can see that in season 6 when they plug new girls in our place, and all of a sudden interests that I had that had nothing to do with Playboy were like all of a sudden Crystal's interest. And I'm like, wait, what's happening? It was just weird. So anyhow, not hating on I think they're trying to set it up like her dressing different is like this big rebellious thing, but like nobody cares. Like, go for it, do your thing. As I'm watching this, I'm thinking, because people always ask me like, were there any like good times you'd want to relive, or what were the best times, or blah, blah, blah. And I'm watching this thinking, if I would have stayed longer, that's one of the things I would have enjoyed continuing to make a tradition, is going to the golf scramble. And then the next thought that entered my head is I'm so glad I left when I did, not only for personal reasons, because I feel like the brand went through so much crazy turmoil after we left that it just wouldn't have been the same at all. I feel like it would have been like being inside like the decline of an empire, kind of. Like coincidentally, right after we left, it's like everything just kind of changed. Like the parties changed. They were no longer his personal parties. They were selling tickets to all the parties, and just, from what I heard, like he was losing control of the company and things like that. And I feel like it would have been a lot. It would have been like a very heavy vibe around there all the time. The Playmate Golf Scramble outfit is another one of those outfits that I wish I would have saved, but didn't. There was a white skirt with black polka dots, which I think I probably got rid of because it's one of those things when you're like going through your closet or whatever, it doesn't look like it belongs, like it matches the rest of the outfit, but there was no logo on it or anything. So I think I probably didn't remember what it went with. And then there was like a zip up like tracksuit jacket that I'm sure I got rid of, because I got rid of like almost all my tracksuits just because I wore them so much and washed them so much that they just weren't really holding up. And then there was a cute little polo top, but it was white. So who knows, maybe it got stained, or maybe, I don't know. But I wish it was an outfit I still had in my archive. By the way, I've been promising you guys a tour of my archive because it's one of like the requested things I get in the comments. I've made no progress sorting it. Like I have a couple racks up, but it's like the last priority thing, even though I really enjoy organizing. And our outfits perfectly match my golf cart. By the way, if any of you are watching these reaction videos as a series, if you have questions about the next episode, which is the one where we go to Monte Carlo, please ask them in the comments section, because I'm sitting here watching this and I'm thinking, I wish I knew what you guys wanted to know about the episode, because I see the show and I'm reminded of certain things, but I bet, people who watch the show over the years have different questions, things I wouldn't even think of. Okay, so Bridget and I are at the golf scramble. They cut back to the mansion and they have this shot that's like a zoom toward Kendra's door. And it's an old shot because there's the old nasty carpet in the hallway, which again, like I say this all the time, but I'm shocked that the executive producer didn't like ask for more shots, because he had a good eye for detail. So I don't know why he wouldn't notice all this continuity. Maybe he was just being cheap and like didn't want to like pay for the extra shots or something. There's this weird scene where like Kendra's still sleeping, and it makes it look like Mary like intercoms into her room from her landline phone. And I didn't know if the phones really did that or not, or if it was just like a voiceover they added on the show to make it look like that happened. But that would be like a weird, creepy feeling, to be asleep in your bed and somebody's voice is like loudspeakering to you. I saw like a thumbnail of this episode on YouTube. It just like came up when I was like searching for my own video to link to my social media. And because I guess there's this page here on YouTube that like shows Girls Next Door episodes, but they're like really bad quality. And I'm like, how are they allowed to do that? But like I can't have the video playing in the corner or I get flagged. You know what I mean? Because I know this page, it's like a fan page and they don't own the copyright at all. So how come they can do that? And it gets a ton of views, like they get good views. So it's not like this under the radar page. I'm like, how are they allowed to do that? But I can't have like a clip in the corner without being flagged. I don't get it. Anyway, the thumbnail was this shot from the show of all the Playmates. And there's a bunch of blondes like posing together for a picture. And when I first saw that thumbnail, when I was looking at my YouTube, my first thought was like, oh, what is this like Mormon cult? Because it's like all these blondes and it looks like we're all in a cult. My second confessional look, I don't know why I haven't done this before, like rating the confessional looks. I love my first confessional look with the yellow shirt. Second confessional look, I don't like. I feel like I look really old, like I didn't have a lot of sleep, so I have these rings under my eyes. And my hair's kind of like a little poofity poof in the back, which is fine. I like it. But there's something like, I just don't love it because I think it makes me look older than I am. Like it's very like Real Housewifey. I don't know. So I give that a 5 out of 10. First one was a 9 out of 10. The only reason it doesn't get a 10 out of a 10 is my extensions were looking a little stringy. They were like those spaghetti individual ones. So Bridget and I are driving around to all the holes, and there would be like little bars set up. So we would like take a shot at every hole. There were a lot of women who worked this event. There were a lot of playmates, and then there were these other women where I don't know where they came from or how they signed up, but they were called like the Playboy Girls of Golf. And I just remember one year, one of the girls of golf, like plopped her butt right by the golf hole and like spread her legs and was like, hit it into this hole. Unforgettable. That would hurt if like the ball came coming at you and like didn't go in the hole in the ground, but like hit you like clunk. Ow. So rating Bridget's confessional look, which so far has been consistent in this episode. She's wearing an orange top, very cute. Her hair looks very nice. She's set up behind the guest house. That's where they're doing her interview. It's very cute. But I'm only giving it, like looks wise, it's a 10 out of 10, like very pretty. But I'm only giving it a 7 out of 10 because when I see an orange shirt on Bridget, I think Halloween. And this isn't a Halloween episode. So that's why it only gets a 7 out of 10. So then they're showing a Kendra confessional interview, and it's the second one we've seen. I didn't rate the first one. She was in an Ed Hardy shirt. But this second one, I'm not going to give a very good score. I'm only going to give it a 4 out of 10 because it's very disorienting. They usually do her interviews in the game house, and they have like one specific angle. But this one's from a whole other angle, and the game house doesn't look as cute. You're seeing a lot more of like the Barbie Benton early American antique look, which is fine, but I don't think that goes with Kendra. I like the other look they do with her with like the pinball machine where it's lit a little bit more in a more contemporary manner. This looks a little bit like she's at grandma's house, and she's wearing a graphic tee like she almost always is in the interviews. And I think, but the font is kind of illegible. I think it says I'm worth it, but I can't really tell. So that's why it only gets a 4 out of 10 is this is a very like disorienting setup, not her fault, but it's only getting a 4 out of 10. Kendra's a very good golfer, and this day just looks so refreshing. You're seeing this golf course. It's like a perfect sunny day. You can tell there's just enough of a breeze. It's not too hot. So they're cutting back to the mansion. Hef is in Mary's office. He has the brown book in front of him. The brown book was the mock-up of the magazine he got every month so he could mark it up and say what he liked and didn't like. And you can see it's the Kim Kardashian issue, which would have been the December issue of that year. And I don't know when this scene was shot. Because like I said, I think the golf scramble was in March, but that doesn't mean this scene, since we're not at the golf scramble and the scene was shot anywhere near it, even though he's asking about the golf scramble. I don't know. Okay, so the reason we've cut to Hef and Mary's office is because they want to join the golf storyline with us going to Mary's house storyline. So that's why it's being filmed way later. You can tell they had Hef come in and do this scene and ask about the golf scramble, even though it probably wasn't anywhere near the time we actually did the golf scramble, so they can link those up and act like it's happening at the same time. And you can just see like a little like hint of like the weird controlling thing going on, because Mary's like, oh, I wanted to invite the girls over, and Hef's like, oh yeah, I like it when you guys get together. I like it very much. You're like family. Like, oh yeah, it's okay if they go do something. It's okay if they leave the house. That's approved. I mean, I can see her asking, can I invite them over? Because it's like a work relationship versus personal relationship. Like that makes sense, but I don't really think that's where that was coming from, if you know what I mean. So we have Kendra confessional interview number 3. It looks very much like number 1. She's back in her usual spot with the pinball machine, and then she has another shirt on. I think it says G Spot, but it looks like it's a shirt for like a bar or something. I don't know if there's any point in me like rating Kendra's confessional looks by number, because I feel like all her confessionals are kind of the same, at least the way I remember them. Like they're almost all that same game house shot. It's always a graphic tee, and there's not really a hair and makeup look involved. And then somebody's trying to show me how to golf, which is not gonna happen. I mean, I'm the person constantly scraping my rims when I'm driving. Like, to make the golf club hit the ball, it's just, like, I don't even know where I am in space. You know what I mean? Like, I can't bring those two things together. I'm for sure the clumsy one, without a doubt. One thing I noticed in my first confessional interview that I gave a 9 out of 10 is my nipples are just out. Like, I should have got a pasty or something because you can see right through the shirt. I like the interaction with the guy who's trying to show me how to golf, though. Like, that's a funny little moment. So we are halfway through the episode. We are done with the golf scramble and we're going over to Mary's house to play cards. And the way they do the transition is they just start with a shot of my golf cart and pan over to me, Bridget, and her sister Anastasia getting into the car to go to Mary's house. Even though I cannot tell you when this scene was shot at Mary's house. Maybe we'll be able to tell if they say what type of sport Kendra and Captain Bob were watching. But it wasn't the same time. It was like Golf Scramble was shot way back in March, and then the Mary scene was shot way later, so they could add to the Golf Scramble and like make a whole episode. So it's just all over the place. So as we're walking into Mary's house, Bridget is explaining in voiceover that when we go over to Mary's, things are very divided. Like, me and Bridget play cards with Mary and her friends, and then Kendra watches football with Captain Bob. But I don't remember Kendra actually going over to Mary's house with us other than this one time. Like, I feel like it was usually just me and Bridget. And then the show always wants to show all three of us, so they fake it. And they're like, oh, Kendra always does this, even though she didn't. I'm going to ask Bridget and see if I'm wrong about that. But I don't think she usually came over there with us. I think it was just us. Okay, so we are on confessional look number 2 for Bridget, which, you know, I'm going to have to give it a 7 out of 10 again because A, she looks great, but the problem is it looks like a Valentine's themed thing, and this is not Valentine's Day. They're shooting her in the guest house in a room that I decorated, and it was Playboy Bunny themed. And so the walls and everything are pink, so it kind of looks like it's Bridget's room. I don't know why they wouldn't have just shot in her room, but so at first glance, it looks like it's Bridget's room, but then I noticed there's like these shabby chic pink and white curtains up, because in the early 2000s, shabby chic was a style that was so in. Like, you couldn't escape it, and it was just this really feminine, pretty style, very country, and I thought it would be perfect for the guest house because we had like the reclaimed wood beams and all the things that Barbie had added that were very country western. But then I wanted it to look more pop and to like brighten it up with like some memorabilia and bright colors. So I thought shabby chic was like the perfect mix of like what was contemporary at that time, but also tied in with like the antique stuff that Barbie had in there with the wood and everything. And the most shabby, when I think of shabby chic, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the Pamela Anderson episode of MTV Cribs. She had this house in Malibu, and every room was so shabby chic. It was like the epitome. So if you ever want to see what shabby chic style is, look that up. But anyway, like, I can see she's in this room, and it has like some of Victoria Fuller's art on the wall that was Playboy Bunny themed. And there's a little shabby chic lamp on the nightstand and a framed picture of the 4 of us. And they brought some of Bridget's stuffed animals out, this little pink Marilyn Monroe poodle that you would like hit its paw and it would sing a Marilyn Monroe song with her voice. It was really cute. I had mine forever and then finally gave it to my daughter because it was so cute, and I don't even know if it's still around. She may have like outgrown it. But and then they brought her like bear that they always used in like her Valentine interview setup, and then she's wearing a shirt with red hearts. So to me it just looks like Valentine's Day. Like, all her interviews in this episode look like a holiday that it's not. So that's the only reason it's getting a lower score. I like when we walk into Mary's house and she says bye to the cameras and shuts them out. So we have confessional look number 3 for me, which I'm going to give a 6 out of 10. The flowers in the background are arranged kind of weird. They almost look like they're like fake flowers from Michael's, but they almost look like giant poppies, but they're all facing the same way in kind of a strange way. And I'm wearing my Only Girl in Town shirt from Jimmy Buffett. And my hair, I don't have any extensions in, so my hair is just like its normal length and blown out. That's not my favorite look on me. So yeah. Oh my gosh, so Mary and Captain Bob had 2 birds. And I was staying at Mary's house for a little while after I moved out of the mansion. And I remember Sarah Underwood came over once and I forgot to tell her that one of the birds was loose and just like out of the blue sometimes would like fly through the house, and it like zoomed over her head and she was so scared. It was funny. Oh, so Kendra says she goes over for Monday Night Football. So that's what it was. Like we would have gone over there to play cards probably on the weekends or something, I think, when Mary did cards. And then she went over at a different time, but they're just like setting it up for the show to make it look like we all went over at the same time. Oh my God, they show an exterior shot of the mansion, and some of the dining room windows had screens on them. And I can't tell you how badly that drives me nuts. Like a old house that looks like that should not have screens on the window. It just, I don't know. I refuse to put screens on the window of my house. Like I have to have more regular maintenance on the windows and like have the sills painted more and things like that. And the maintenance people are always like, you know, screens would really help. I'm like, no, it just like ruins the aesthetic of an old house for me. I can't do it. So rating interview looks, we are on interview number 4 for me, and just showing you how many different confessional interviews were used per episode is indicative of how many different episodes we were asked about in each sitting. And that's why some of the interviews could get kind of stale and frustrating sometimes, as they'd be like, okay, tell us about how you were feeling 6 months ago when this happened. And you're like, wait, what? Who? when did that happen? I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. I don't like it as much as my 9 out of 10 interview. The background is good. They're going with a green theme. There's like a fake plant behind me, a fake Picasso, and a green shirt on a fake chest. So Hef is passing out a new issue of the magazine when he has all his guy friends over. And if indeed that was shot at the same day we went to Mary's house, the issue he's handing out, if I remember correctly, it was an August issue, and the issues like came out like a month before the date that was on the cover, so it would have been July. Yeah, I think it was the issue that Tamara was in, the first Playmate I directed. So this scene was shot in July, and if it truly was happening the same time we were at Mary's house, then we would have shot the Mary stuff in July, which was not the same time as the Golf Scramble. Oh my God, they're showing the sandwiches Captain Bob would make that he put in a panini press. They were so good. That should be in the Girls Next Door cookbook. Okay, so we are on, I've lost track. I think this is the 3rd Bridget confessional. This one I'm gonna give a 10 out of 10. She's wearing a bright green shirt. Her hair is in braids. It looks great. The background is great. She's behind the guest house. 10 out of 10. You guys, I'm losing track of how many different confessionals are in one episode, because is this the 4th one we've seen of Kendra now? She's wearing a Juicy t-shirt. She's in her usual game house setting. Her hair is pulled back, very nice and sleek. She has a very pretty eyeshadow. I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10. So we're talking about how Hef was trying to get this movie of his life made. And the way I say it in the confessional, I go, Hollywood has been trying to do a movie on Hef's life. It just sounds funny to me, like Hollywood has been trying. I don't know why that made me laugh. But damn, is this my 5th confessional interview? I'm wearing a vintage pink sweatshirt. Background is on point. Still have the fake poppies, but they're arranged a little bit better. I like my hair. My makeup I could have done with a little bolder lip, so I'm only gonna give it a 9 out of 10. But the Playboy movie never got made. For a while, it was optioned by Imagine Entertainment. Okay, so it cuts back to the mansion. It shows a shot of the mansion. Was that a Freudian slip? A shot of the mansion? A shot of the mansion, and then it shows a shot of the wishing well, and there were figures carved into the wishing well, and it shows an up close of like one of the faces on the wishing well, and it looks like somebody who's like crying for help. Oh my, I have lost count of how many confessional interviews are in this show. Like, we're on another one of Bridget. She's behind the game house wearing a strawberry shirt. Hair looks great. Makeup looks good. I'm only giving it a 9 out of 10 though, because I feel like the lighting on her is just a shade off. Like, it could be a little better, but mostly good. So the final scene of this episode is it's Mary's birthday. The staff is setting up a table, like a folding table outside the mansion. We're gonna bring out a cake. Everybody's gonna sing to her, happy birthday. I look like I'm wearing makeup or next to no makeup again. I think the only scene I've worn makeup other than confessionals is like the Golf Scramble. So I'm really just not giving in that area. Oh, I forgot there was a whole scheme to get Mary to come downstairs. We were gonna have Brian Alea tell her that somebody hit her car. Poor Mary. This reminds me how back in the day when there were 7 girlfriends, there was one girlfriend who was constantly going into the office and saying that like staff at the mansion hit her car, because sometimes there would be valet for parties and stuff like that. And she would always say that, oh, she got a dent in her car because staff like dented her car at the mansion. And nobody really believed her because it just didn't happen to anybody else. And I just don't think anybody would have done that purposely, but it was a recurring theme. So Allison Waite is getting the blame for hitting Mary's car, and she just looks fantastic. She has this amazing blowout, cute little outfit. Okay, so favorite things and least favorite things about that episode. I think my favorite thing is just that it was all about Mary. I love Mary. A lot of people, after The Secrets of blank brand name, I'm not allowed to say, documentary, after that came out, a lot of people were like, well, how do you feel about Mary now? How do you feel about knowing what she was a part of? And I don't really know what anybody's talking about. I never watched my episode of that documentary. Like, I still refuse to watch it. It was the second episode. But I watched all the others, and I didn't really see anything that incriminating, other than I know that there were a couple people who like tried to go to Mary, and maybe they felt like she was kind of dismissive of them, which I would never want to like invalidate anybody's feelings or say that they didn't have a right to feel that way or anything. You know, sometimes we don't get like the compassion we want out of people. But I also know that Mary did have that compassionate side to her, and that she just had a lot on her plate. And it also like wasn't really her job to be everybody's counselor, even though some of us felt like, you know, we always wanted to go running to her. So maybe people didn't always catch her on the best day. I don't know. And she was always very like blunt and would tell people the truth. But I think just knowing her as well as I did, like, I think she's an amazing person. I also loved seeing the golf scramble. That was a really fun day. Loved seeing my golf cart. Loved the outfits. My least favorite thing about the episode, I think for some reason the confessionals really stuck out to me this time. And not just because I decided to rate them, but because they were so many. They were so all over the place. Bridget's looked like they were themed to different holidays that we're not talking about here. I just think there was a real lack of consistency that could have been improved upon. So that's probably my least favorite thing about this episode. But overall, I thought it was like a cute, heartwarming episode. And I loved seeing Carola the bird again. That was great. So this was a good one. It wasn't like the most exciting episode or the one that like stands out the most in my mind, but it was a good episode. It was one of the ones I liked. So the next episode is about our trip to Monte Carlo. If you have any questions about that episode, ask me in the comments section for this video, and I will try my best to answer when I watch next time. So, and also, well, actually, like, I might even record that before I air this. So any episodes in season 4, if you have questions about, ask me here. So I'll know to answer them. Bye, guys.